Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Global River Cruise update. My name is Adele, and I'm part of the team here in the UK for CLIA UK and Ireland. So today we'll be looking at how the industry has dealt with the resumption of a number of river cruises and also what there is to look forward to in 2021 and beyond. But before we get going, I just have a little bit of housekeeping that I wanted to share with you. So we'll be recording this session and we'll share it on the CLIA website a little bit later in the week. And even though you will be in listen-only mode for the duration of the webinar, we would still like you to contact us with any comments or questions that you might have. So today we'll be using the questions section in GoToWebinar, and that's situated on the right of your screen. If you click on the questions icon, a little text box will open up and it will make it easier to add any questions or comments that you have. So please do submit whatever you fancy asking us about, and we'll try and cover as many of the questions we can at the end of the session. So if your question's not answered or you think of something after the webinar has ended, then please do email me at afoster@cruising.org. So now it gives me great pleasure to introduce your host for today. It's Andy Harmer, who is Senior Vice President for Membership and Director of CLIA UK and Ireland. Hello, Andy. It's over to you.
Hi, Adele. Thank you very much. And good afternoon or good morning, everybody. And thank you for joining one of our first global webinars focusing on river cruise. So a very special welcome to our travel agent partners, whether you're based in North America, the UK, in Ireland, or across Europe. Thank you for giving up your time and energy to join this webinar, which is, as I say, focusing on a sector of the travel industry that was, until 2020, of course, one of the fastest growing segments of the travel industry. And there's a number of reasons why over the last 5 to 10 years, we've seen such huge growth in river cruising, down to the investment, for example, in new ships, in alternative dining, in bicycles, in active onboard activities, but also in excursions and destinations, and even in the opportunity to explore new rivers that weren't available to customers in the past. So over the next 60 minutes, we'll be talking about some of the exciting restarts that we've seen in Europe during the course of this summer. And as we come into the winter months, what 2021 holds and the opportunities ahead. One of the things that we have done this year as CLIA has been to facilitate the river cruise operators coming together, sharing best practice and really working together to get us through this terrible year of crisis. And so one of the activities that we wanted to do over the past couple of weeks was to put together a video that shows, we hope, some of the opportunities ahead, some of the hope that we have about the resumption of cruising, but also the fact that we have seen some resumption of cruising already. So Adele, let's watch that video.
As we have been dealing with this one extraordinary year,
our ships have been resting, but we've been busy.
We have been working with health authorities and medical professionals,
sharing best practices and learning from each other to plan for our safe return to the rivers.
The safety of our guests always comes first, and now we are going even further.
You may see some changes on your next holiday.
There may be differences in the booking information guests need to provide.
Boarding procedures may be new. Guests may be asked to follow new procedures on board, but there is one thing that will not change.
The warmth of our welcome.
And everything that you love most about river cruising. Immersive, inspiring, authentic travel experiences, where each day brings a new discovery.
Sailing from city to city or country to country, you can simply relax and cruise with confidence.
We're happy to welcome you back.
And a huge thank you to all of our River Cruise executives who took part in that video. And I should tell you that if you'd like to use the video or share the video, you'll be able to later in the week when we make that available to you. But it's a great demonstration, I think, of the strength of coming together, the strength of community, so that the opportunities ahead are clear for all to see. Talking of opportunities, in this first section of our webinar, we really wanted to focus on some of the resumption of river cruising that's already happened across some European countries. So joining me for the first part of this session, we welcome Lucia Rowe, who is the Managing Director of Rosa River Cruises, Jamie Loazu, who is the Managing Director for AMA Waterways, and John Fair, who is the UK Sales Director for Quasi Europe. Good afternoon or good morning. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you can hear me and we can hear you.
Hello.
Yep. Hello.
Hi, everyone. Perfect. Look at that. Technology works when you want it to. And just a reminder, I'll be asking some questions of our illustrious panel over the next 15 or so minutes, but there are plenty of opportunities for you to ask questions as well. So please ask them into the box. And as we come to the end of our hour together, then we'll go through some of those questions as well. Lucia, I'm going to come to you first of all, if that's okay. I think Rosa was one of the first river cruise operators to resume sailing. So how has it been over the past couple of months?
Yes, thank you, Andy, and hello everyone. Wonderful to have you all here. I mean, our first, I think, ever global river cruise event. It's ever so exciting. And just to say a big thank you to you, Andy, and the whole CLIA team for bringing us all together again. You know, sometimes I feel we take these things almost for granted after so many months, but we know, well, God knows only how much hard work is behind all of these activities that you are putting together. So literally hats off to you. Thank you very much for doing that for all of us and from all of us, I'm sure. Restart, yes. Well, we are telling the story of our restart, and I'm not only speaking about our Rosa here, of ours again as a community, and we are telling it now for quite a few months. So in our case, it's been over 3.5 months, which is quite extraordinary when you say it, when you hear it. But what I would just like to point out is that this restart has never been just a moment in time. Of course, there is a date when we restarted. We restarted first in Portugal, followed by other European rivers. However, it is a process. And I think it's very important for everybody out there to understand that this is, you know, health and regulations, protocols, new rules, new ways of cruising, new life on board, and all of this is happening from this one moment, but is a huge learning curve. It's every day is adding to that experience of making things possible and making things happen. And what I have personally, but I'm sure my colleagues have also learned from this, is that it is agility that is the most important characteristic in terms of reacting as a company and as a business to what challenges are being thrown into our ways. Because it's not just about dealing with COVID. It is adapting sometimes 3, 4, 5 times a day to a new challenge, to a new itinerary. You know, one country is putting some barriers up and the other one is opening on the other side. It's been such a privilege in a way to be able to deal with all these reactions, to see the teams on board and in our operational quarters coming all together and doing this fantastic work of dealing with the everyday. In a way, it's an everyday crisis management, but the guest is not feeling anything like it on board. The guest is still having a wonderful holiday, and I think this is, you know, like in a nutshell what we've experiencing with it.
It's really interesting, the operational side of things. I guess we almost forget it's you know, we're living such different lives currently, but the amount of planning and work that goes into that, I can absolutely appreciate it. John, from your perspective, how have the guests responded? Are they getting used to kind of holidaying in a certain way, do you think?
I think, yeah, the feedback's been very positive from the experience on board. Clearly, there has to be changes. The new health and safety protocols, as Lucia has mentioned, but the feedback we've had from customers has been They've just thoroughly enjoyed it. They've been very happy to be there. Yes, they have to wear masks when they move around the ship. Yes, they have to wear masks on excursions, but not when they're sitting in bars and restaurants on the ship and relaxing and up on the upper deck. But the feedback has been just the joy of traveling, the ability to be there. And the same with all the cruise lines. Our crew have been brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and they've made sure that the experience on board has been absolutely fantastic. So far, so good in the experience that people are enjoying on board.
And you mentioned a couple of things that you're suggesting customers have to get used to, which is the wearing of masks at certain points during the holiday. Are those the biggest changes, do you think, that customers have seen or identified?
I think just because for all of us in everyday life, masks are now part of everyday life. You've never had to wear a mask on a ship before. Yes, of course, there's hand sanitation on board, your suitcases that are disinfected. There are changes, but the most common on board is the wearing of masks when appropriate. But everyone's been really fine with it and hasn't detracted from their holiday experience.
And Lucia, have you've seen similar feedback from your customers?
Indeed, Andy. So as I said, we've been lucky that people actually trusted us with this. I think it's a big piece of communication of rebuilding trust as well, and communicating to guests that is actually fine. If if you're doing the right thing, they can trust us, and then they can come and then relax and still have a wonderful holiday. In our case, maybe the changes were much greater because as many of you know, Rosa is standing for a lot of flexibility, a lot of choice on board. We have a completely different dining system. We have the live cooking stations in terms of buffets and so on, all manned by their individual chefs. All of that at the moment has been transformed into served dining and into so customers experience a very different side of our Rosa, but in a way the challenge has shown us we can do that too. So it's wonderful to have that side of the story as well.
Jamie, it's been a slightly different restart, I guess, for Amma Waterways because it's been a charter operation, but how's it been going for you?
Well, over the last 3 months of operations, we've been welcoming German guests on board. So we've been sailing in and out of Cologne with a tour operator partner here, based over in Germany. It's gone incredibly well. We've had fantastic feedback, not only from our guests, but also from the staff and crew on board. And I think Lucia mentioned kind of agility and innovation as well. I think there's certain things from an operations perspective, we need to be very agile. But I think any good operations team, it's kind of like a swan. It's very calm on the upward service, and then beneath the water, as it were, we're making all the arrangements we're having to do in order to make it completely seamless for our guests. And I think it's interesting because the current situation has also presented an opportunity for us to look at our own product and things that we have introduced this year because we've had to, such as we've always offered a la carte and buffet at breakfast and lunch, but now we're just offering a la carte, and that's something that we will continue to do for next year because actually we've taken a look at our products and we think, you know what, really as a luxury product, we should be offering a la carte, all the time. So it's presented an opportunity, and it's been very well received by our guests, which is obviously the most important thing. Their health and safety is paramount, without diminishing the delivery of the product.
Sorry, Andy, just to add to what Jamie was saying, because I think in a very paradoxical way, this has been also a time for opportunities. So we discovered as well that in terms of product and destination, because again, we were forced in many ways to react and to redo itineraries and to reinvent many of our classical itineraries. And we discovered alongside destinations, even in our home destination, Germany, we have found places that we would have never maybe imagined to offer to our guests before. And there are some wonderful places along these rivers that have come to light via this crisis. So it's not all bad, really.
Yeah, and you mentioned some of the rivers that have opened up. John, presumably the opening up of rivers means you've also had to look at some of those shore experiences available. So has the shore part of the holiday changed as well?
To a degree. Obviously, we've managed to get 20 ships of our 55 million, so that's most of the rivers we've managed to open up in Europe to some degree. But we work very closely with the local authorities in all aspects, both the health and safety, but also clearly working with local authorities on shore excursions. So where we can, we've operated them as expected, but clearly, depending on local environments, local requirements, and local law, we have had to adapt some, as indicated, and we also have had to go and find new stops occasionally, and again, be very flexible in that, because sometimes it can happen as you're cruising, you might need to make changes. But where possible, we've tried to deliver the excursion program as planned, but making sure that we're very upfront with the customers when we've had to make changes, and they've all been very accepting where we've had to make changes.
In terms of your customer feedback, has it given us heart that there is that pent-up demand for river cruising or the opportunity to explore Europe by river? Have we seen a new type of customer or new customers joining? Maybe Lucia, you can start us off.
I can gladly share the positive news, because I think this is something that, again, the entire river cruise community can benefit from. We've been running our own surveys and have found out that customers actually, and for the first time ever, again, I've been in this business for many, many years, and I've never seen it happening as it happened with the COVID situation. Traditionally, the crossover between ocean and river was not much to speak about. In fact, the databases could hardly be matched, because the ocean cruiser out there is actually looking, in theory, for something very different than a river cruise experience. Well, for the first time ever, we found out that more than 70% of our guests booking now and coming on board of our ships now are coming on board or booking with some sort of ocean cruise experience, meaning this is another huge opportunity for the entire sector to show that actually there is a holiday here to be had, there is an alternative, and the ocean cruisers are probably for the first time ever giving us a real chance.
Encouraging indeed. Talking of kind of next steps, I guess the next big obvious season is Christmas markets. We are, of course, unsure currently as to exactly what's going to happen across Europe during the next few months, but who has hopes of a Christmas market cruise? Maybe I'll come to you, Jamie.
So from a charter perspective, out of our German, with our German friends, then we will be cruising through the Christmas markets. We know that there are a good proportion of Christmas markets that are due to be open in some way, shape, or form, even if they are going to be kind of dispersed into slightly smaller versions to help with crowd management, etc. From an AMA Waterways perspective, a good proportion of our guests are from North America, so we're monitoring what the EU decides as to whether Europe will be open for our guests from North America, and we'll take our decision accordingly. So I would imagine we'll be making a decision on that within the next few weeks or so. But certainly for our German audience, then the Christmas markets are open, so we will be operating.
Same here, Andy. Yeah, same here. So, I completely agree. Well, we are opening it up for everyone, obviously, and hopefully UK customers will be allowed to come to Germany for the Christmas markets. If some of them are closed, again, we are very much used now during these months of putting new itineraries together. We will be searching for the ones that are taking place. We will be taking people to see the wonderful lights, to experience the festive season. We are working very closely with the authorities in all of these places, and we're very confident that there will be Christmas markets cruises. We have our tour operating partners actually are having the tours that at the moment are set to get going when the Christmas markets tours are starting. So yeah, but taking every day as it comes. This is the message.
We're pretty similar in that respect. We're planning to operate a full program. I think what Lucia said, I think it's an opportunity to showcase some Christmas markets that aren't normally seen, because sometimes it's the the Colognes of this world. We know Cologne's not operating this year, so there's opportunities for other Christmas markets to get their share of the spotlight. So at the moment, we're planning a full program as we stand. But obviously, we'll take advice on that from the authorities as we move forward.
So Christmas not cancelled, we hope, this year, but we will wait and see. It's probably a good opportunity to bring Jane Archer into the conversation. Jane is a freelance journalist and a resident of the UK and kind of our resident river cruise expert. So Jane, are you able to join us? Look at that, technology works.
Just like that.
There we go. Jane, we're going to keep you with us for the next session as well within the hour, but I just thought because you've just got back from a river cruise in Europe, that it would be a good opportunity to ask you, how was the experience?
It was absolutely lovely. I have to say we had a fantastic time. And I would echo what has just been said here, because if you read through all the protocols and you think to yourself, oh my goodness, this sounds terrible, I'm going to have to do this, this and this. Actually, as a passenger, you really don't notice anything very much. The difference is, of course, you have to wear a mask when you're moving around. And, you know, it took about, I don't know, 6 days for me to remember that. And the 7th day I got off. So, you know, it is one of those things you have to keep remembering to put it in your pocket. I was cruising with Rosa, and as Lucia has said, obviously it's a very different system for them because you don't have the buffet meals. Breakfast, lunch and dinner, but you know, it worked absolutely brilliantly. I have to say the crew were fantastic. They've slipped into this sort of waitering mold with ease, and never any problems whatsoever. You know, the food choice and everything is still very much there. They're doing it in a different fashion. So I mean, I would say no worries whatsoever about going on the cruise. I'd go again tomorrow, just could do with a little bit more sunshine, would be nice. Yeah, if the Christmas cruises are there, I will certainly be on board over Christmas, as always.
That's good to hear, and good to hear you had a great trip. We're going to keep you, Jane, but Lucia, John, Jamie, thank you for joining us for this section. We're going to ask you to turn your cameras off now, and we'll come back to you right towards the end when we'll have some questions. So just a reminder to everybody, if you do have questions for our panel today in 2 parts, then please put a question in the box there. We'll come to them in a short while. Before we do that, though, we have some more guests joining us on our panel. They are Walter Littlejohn, Senior Vice President, Managing Director at Crystal River Cruises. Good afternoon, Walter.
Good afternoon, Andy and Jane, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Walter. Joining us, as you can see, from Globus Brands and Avalon Waterways, Pamela Hoffey. Hi, Pamela.
Hi, Andy. Hi, everyone. Thanks for
joining. Good to have you with us. And from Uniworld Boutique River Cruise Collection, Ellen Bettridge. Good afternoon, Ellen.
Good afternoon. It's lovely to see everybody.
What a great panel. Thank you very, very much for joining us. We have an amazing panel. You've just heard some great comments on the resumption of river cruising in parts of Europe. Are you encouraged for 2021? Let's start with you, Ellen.
I'm very encouraged for 2021. I actually think that 2021, 2022 already are looking amazing. And I think that we're still just getting started. I've been saying this for years now. Joining the river cruise business has been one of the most exciting things because, you know, most of our ships averages 120 people. There's so few people who've actually ever river cruised. Yeah. And as Lucia said earlier, you know, they are starting to see people migrate from ocean to river. And I think that, you know, the attractiveness of cruising, of unpacking once and seeing so many destinations, that's going to continue. And I think there's no better way to do it than on a river cruise, which also happens to be, as we know, smaller and close to land.
Why do you think so few people have taken a river cruise, Ellen? Of course, the size of the ship and the capacity across the rivers, but is there a story we haven't told, do you think?
Well, you know, when you look at it over the years, you see it going from like 2014 until today, and you've seen just this massive growth of it, right? So we are seeing it, and we are all benefiting from the fact that our ships are full. So I think I think it's still unknown, Andy. I think there is also a mystique about it as being something different than it is. And I think once people come on board and they realize that the level of service is there, the level of food, and by the way, even a higher level of convenience, because you never wait in line, you never have to worry about anything, everything's taken care of for you. To me, it's that vacation that you go on that you don't even have to think, right? You could just show up and someone else has planned your excursions, planned your meals. You just, just kind of go along with the group and also make really great lifelong friends. And I think people are worried that maybe it's too small, but other people that are also, there's also those anti-cruisers who say, I'm never going to go on a cruise. And I think we're also seeing some of them start to turn to river cruising as well.
Thanks, Ellen. Of course, Uniworld has been operating for a number of years. Walter, you're still the new boy on the block, I guess. So are you encouraged about 2021?
Yeah, we're very excited about it because the way we look at 2021, it's the rebirth of the industry. We were one of actually the first river cruise line to cancel the season for 2020. And we've been spending this time thinking about how can we reimagine the experience and really make sure that we're in touch with what consumers are looking for going forward. And so to go from zero to boom, hey, 2021 is here, to really be able to give people an opportunity to relive the dream of travel again. We're all really excited about that. And so I think it's going to be a fantastic year. As Ellen and others have mentioned, there is a renewed interest in small ship cruising because of the perceived safety and so forth of it. And so we're getting spotlight on our industry that we wouldn't be able to generate ourselves because we are so small, and that's just exciting and beneficial to us all.
And Pam, what kind of reaction, response are you getting from your customers? Are they looking forward to river cruising again?
Well, absolutely, and to traveling again. And we were off to a great start for 2021 before COVID, which gave us a really great position to be in. And then, a lot of guests have moved from 2020 into 2021, and we certainly encourage advisors. We have so many guests who took a future cruise credit as their choice rather than a refund, which we're so thankful to advisors for encouraging their guests to do that. So there is a huge amount of guests out there still waiting to book. And so 2021 really is a great opportunity for all of us, and for all the reasons that have been mentioned: the renewed interest in small ship cruising, being close to land, and ocean cruisers who are interested in trying something different for all of these reasons. And 2022, I think Ellen mentioned, is also open, I think, for most of us, and great interest in 2022 as well. So we have some very good years ahead of us.
And are you attracting, and I think Lucia mentioned it on the last part of the webinar, but are you seeing renewed interest from other parts of the traveling community that hasn't been interested in river cruising before?
Well, we had been seeing that for years, actually. So that had been happening for our brand for quite a while. I think that has been a reflection of some of the things that we've been doing. We have been introducing a lot of new excursions, choice in our excursions, the way that we operate on board, just the feeling on Avalon. I think the excursions in particular, and getting people off the beaten path, and active excursions, discovery excursions, things like cooking classes, painting classes, are all things that just bring a different type of person. This old idea of river cruising is totally passive, that was a lot of people's resistance for coming on a river cruise, that you had to be old and it was that type of a trip. It certainly can be a passive experience if that's what you want. You can relax and do nothing and have an incredibly luxurious, wonderful week, or you can do a ton of things. It really is a different type of trip than what people have in their mind in the past of what river cruising was.
And Ellen, we've discussed this before, but you've seen a change in the type of customer and the type of experience the customer's been looking for a number of years.
Yeah, no, it absolutely has changed. We are seeing every year the age goes down a little bit. It's very interesting to see. They definitely want more active, and they expect more. I think we have I think all of us do as consumers. We have these new high expectations of everything. This new instant Amazon world, or this new instant watching TV and whatever you want to watch world. The consumer comes on board, and I think they want everything and they want it now. So delivering that high level of services is definitely becoming more and more important. And they want to do things that no one else has done. And so we're all struggling to find what's the newest, greatest thing that we can bring to them. We challenged ourselves this next year going into 2021. We went to we have such loyal past passengers that we're like, what else can we bring them? So we introduced the Amazon. So we partnered with Aqua Expeditions, and it sold out immediately. I mean, it was so much fun, and it was all past guests. And I expect that will come back in 2021, this year. And then also this year, we've offered a rail and cruise experience. So taking guests from Zurich down to Venice to join our beautiful new super ship La Venezia. And that idea of rail and cruise, I think, is just ideal because it's these two small, intimate experiences that we've combined together, right? And so it's this group that can travel together. And our guests are looking for that. They're looking for new experiences. They're looking for new things.
I love that we're in an Amazon kind of generation where we expect delivery straight away, and there you are going to the Amazon just to make that point. Walter, is and listening to some of those views on the guest experience, how much of your focus has been on board compared to what happens ashore? Because that shore side experience is really important.
Yeah, so the genesis of the entire Crystal River experience was based on our ocean ship platform. So from the onset, when we created this, we recreated the ocean experience on a small ship platform. So for us in the beginning, creating the river experience was what we've been doing for the past 30 years on our ocean liners. And so several years ago, we put a big focus on the destination experience and how can we deliver that at an ultra luxury level to sort of coincide nicely with the onboard experience. And so it's really important for us because at the end of the day, that's what the guest is buying, is the destination experience. We opted to do it in a very different way than what had been traditionally offered in river cruising, simply because luxury guests are all about choices. They like a lot of choices. And they also like the ability to be able to do what they want to do. And so a big part of our experience over the past 2 years has become custom shore excursion experiences, where although we offer a really wonderful array of choices that are active, immersive, and so forth, there is that guest who really wants something curated specifically for them that no one else is doing, that no one else has thought of, and so forth. And so we have a team of folks who are in Amsterdam and Miami who on request are curating these really fantastic custom experiences for our guests, offering them up for retail sale and so forth, and treating it as a blank page experience. It's whatever you would like, whatever you'd want to do, whatever you can think of, or maybe not even think of, but allow our magic makers to think of something. That's what we're offering, and that's become a big part of it. The onboard experience was the #1 focus because at the end of the day, the ships have the Crystal brand on them, and with that comes a set of expectations, and we've really delivered that exceptionally well. The river ships are actually the highest ranking ships in the entire Crystal fleet from a guest satisfaction standpoint. We've really been able to prove that you can deliver a 6-star experience on a small ship platform with no excuses whatsoever. And so now on the land side, we've done the same.
So destination is clearly key, and some of those smaller shore excursions, those bespoke ones, are really important. Jane, you're an avid river cruiser. So in terms of that destination experience, how has it changed over the last 5-10 years that you've been writing about it?
Oh, absolutely, massively. I mean, it's like chalk and cheese, to be honest, because I mean, I think I mentioned in a previous conversation we had, back in what, a decade ago now, the offshore experience, they're going to see the destination. Well, you did a guided tour around the town and maybe you had an extra hour free time and then it was back on board. And that was kind of what you did at every place that you went to. And now it's all so very, very different, where you have all the private after hours events that you can go to, dinners in chateaus and wine tasting here and there. I mean, I saw recently there was something about in France, in Paris, they've got you can do a tour in an old de chevaux. I mean, great fun, do things like that. It is changed beyond belief, and again, the onboard experience, of course, as well, because of the activities that you can do. Whereas before, they just didn't really exist. Yes, there might have been a cooking demonstration, or a folk dancing group would come on board, but now you've got so much more, because you actually have the exercise classes. So there really are times when you go up on the top deck and you are doing your exercises, instead of just sort of getting around to it maybe if you feel like it. There is somebody there really encouraging you. Of course, all the bike trips that you can do, the hiking trips, and again, I've seen the hiking, whereas once upon a time the idea of hiking was really actually just you walked a little bit further than you would have done before. But now, I mean, they really are some pretty strenuous hikes that they take you out on. So as I say, it has changed enormously, and it's fantastic, because that is now bringing in so many more people and different people, because those are the kind of experiences that they really, really do want to do. So I think even people, I think it was Ellen who mentioned it, people who would say, oh no, I will never go on a cruise. Actually, they're seeing that kind of thinking and seeing that kind of thing and thinking, oh gosh, that actually looks quite fun, I might do that. And again, it's bringing in this new type of person. So I mean, I agree with what everybody else has said. I think that next year is going to be a fantastic year, because there are so many people out there who love this type of holiday, like me. I mean, I'm by no means the only person, and they can't wait to get back. As again, my experience last week showed, there are lots of people who are ready to go on these ships, and they're having a fantastic time.
Thanks, Jane. You spoke about some of those more active experiences and some of those slightly different experiences. As travel professionals said, some of the travel professionals watching this webinar, should they be talking about river cruise differently, or what should their focus be? Ellen, you nodded, so I'm going to come to you, but should we be talking slightly differently?
They should. I'm going to be a little greedy. I think we've got to go for it as a river cruising group, right? I think all tides rise, so I want to see ocean and river both come back strong. But I think right now is our moment. So what we've done to help our advisors is we've actually created a section on our website called Why a River Cruise. So first and foremost, talking to the consumer about why the river cruise. We've got to get it into their head. And then we've also created a training module for the agent, so them to understand why a river cruise. Some agents still do not know how to sell it. They need to be able to sell it as this, incredible floating boutique hotel that's going down the rivers, where they remind the person who happens to maybe have been their past ocean cruiser, why not try river now? And here's why. And I think we've just got to lead them there. And I've taken it as far as I've actually personally written the note for them to send to their customer. So like I said, I think we have to go for it. Now is the time to introduce even more. And I'm, like I said, incredibly optimistic about next year and what's coming.
Pam, the travel professional community has done a lot for river cruise, but presumably there's always more and always lots of opportunities for them.
Well, absolutely. And, our Avalon Waterway Specialist Program does all of those things that Ellen talked about. It's so important to, engage and learn and use this time to learn about how to sell a river cruise, how they're different, how they've changed. Our active and discovery cruises, I think, are really a key to the evolution in cruising. And as Ellen said, we want everyone to succeed and all tides rise. And there really is a great opportunity. And I know that CLIA is also working on some efforts in training for river cruise, and more to come on that. I don't know, Andy, if you're ready to announce that, but I know it's coming.
You're a tease, Pam. I knew that, but we certainly have some new resources that we're developing, that we're finalising, and we'll be announcing those and releasing those very soon. So thank you to all the operators who have helped construct that. Walter.
Yeah, I think that the training is very important, and CLIA, as Pam has mentioned, is going to be coming out with some great resources, and all of us have our own specialist programs and so forth, because of course we all are distinctively different. We all have something unique to offer to the marketplace, and it behooves you as an advisor to be aware of those differences to make sure you get the right client on the right ship. But also remember that river cruises complement ocean cruises in a really fantastic way. There are often times on our ships and our river cruisers, guests who are coming off of ocean cruises, not only our own ocean cruises, but other ocean cruise brands when they're in Europe, and it's a total vacation for them, the two experiences. And the fact is that river cruises don't go to the same destinations by and large as the ocean cruises. So when you have a client in front of you, an ocean cruise customer who's been everywhere and says, where do I go next? The destinations that we offer in river cruising are so rich in content and cannot be reached for the most part by the large ships. And so there is a fantastic way for you to be able to introduce a new destination to your ocean cruise client.
Thanks, Walter. Very well said. We should talk a little bit more about destinations that are upcoming. Jane, there's a few trends that we've seen in sort of the popular rivers coming. There's also been some new, I guess they're not new rivers because the rivers will have been there for a very long time, but in terms of river vacations, they're kind of new. So places like the Nile upcoming and others in India, etc. Why don't you give us a quick summary?
Well, the Nile, I think, is really going to be the one to watch next year. Possibly more so because if people are a little bit worried about traveling further afield, the Nile is a nice little, certainly as far as the UK is concerned, and obviously they're talking about the UK, it's not that far from home. So if they want something a little bit different from going in Europe, doing the Rhine, the Danube, etc., the Nile isn't that far away. It's about a 4-hour flight, and you're in Egypt, so it's nice and doable. And of course it's a fantastic cruise as well, because you know you're going through ancient Egypt, and it is the way to do Egypt like that, and you get the fantastic guides who travel with you. I mean, it really cannot overstate what a fantastic opportunity it is to do a Nile cruise. And there are so many new vessels that are coming out, or have just recently come out, that have really elevated that whole experience. You know, from what it was when I first did it, which gosh is quite a long time ago. In fact, it's a very long time ago. And you know, then it was very enjoyable. But it's, as I say, it's been elevated to new levels now, which is fantastic. India, absolutely. I mean, I think India is definitely one to watch. Again, obviously, you know, you've got to say, as long as people are happy to travel a little bit further at the moment. But if they are, I think the Ganges is going to be a spectacular a river to do for anybody who really wants to make that next step. And it's important to remember that you're not just selling that to cruisers or river cruisers. You can sell the Ganges to anybody who is really interested in going and seeing India. They might do the Golden Triangle, and then having done the Golden Triangle, they can do the Ganges River Cruise, because it is a cruise. Of course it's a cruise, but it's a completely different experience. You are sailing through parts of India that most people from the West have certainly never heard of, and many will have never, well, they certainly won't have seen. They won't know what it's like to go to these places. Many you know, sort of the little settlements and towns along the river, some of them don't even have electricity. You know, they rely on generators, and it's very hard for people to understand that. So it's a different experience to going to Europe. So it's, as I say, it's not just for the cruiser, it's for somebody who's really interested in seeing destinations and seeing something different, seeing different cultures, learning about different types of cuisine, etc., etc. The Ganges is one, and obviously in India also you've got the Brahmaputra, but it's, in terms of capacity, it's that much smaller, so it's not going to take off in quite the same way. And the Mekong, which obviously has been going now for some time, which has been in huge demand. I mean, I think that is going to come back big time, because again, it is just a fantastic river when you've got, you know, Saigon at one end of it, and you've got Angkor Wat to go and see at the other, Phnom Penh in the middle. I mean, it's three big hitters there, and then all the lovely little villages and towns that you see along the way, you know, the floating markets, etc., etc. There is so much to see, and so much excitement there. I've no doubt they will all come back. Maybe that'll be more towards the back end of 21, but they will be back for sure.
Thanks, Jane. You've made me want to travel even more than I did. I'm really conscious of time, so just a really short answer from each of you in terms of the destinations that you're most excited about for 2021. We'll start with you, Ellen. I know you've a few new products and things to look forward to 2021. Can you name one of them?
As I can, Andy. So I'm super psyched about Egypt as well, Jane. We're adding our second ship there because the demand has been so incredible. So very excited about Egypt. The super ship Sphinx is ready to go. We've got a new ship on the Douro with the super ship Sal Gabriel. She's all suites on the top deck, and just really excited about really that destiny. The Douro is amazing to start with. So looking forward to that. And of course, Italy. So we're like one of the only people who have a ship down there. It truly is your floating boutique hotel right in the heart of Italy, right there in the lagoon of Venice. Now with a new docking spot in Verano and going up the Chioggia up to the Po River. It really is a fantastic experience. So very excited about those. And of course, our cruise and rail, and then the Amazon, and the list goes on and on and on. 2020 was supposed to be a really big year, so now 2021 will be. So
it's going to be huge, yeah, indeed. And if you haven't been to the Douro, then it is the most amazing part of Europe. I love Porto, love the whole river experience. Pam, is there any destination you're particularly excited about for 21?
Well, Jane did a great job of talking about all of our exotic destinations that I'm very excited about. So thank you for that. And, you know, you made a point that I thought was really important, which is you don't have to just sell these to people who are river cruisers. And when I've been on our exotic cruises, so many of the people that I meet have never actually been on a river cruise. Some of them have never even been on a cruise. They are just travelers. And these are great ways. These cruises take you to places that you wouldn't have made it to probably on your own. So thank you. Those are really good points. So aside from those destinations, we're also really excited for the Lower Danube. This has been a destination that's really been growing for Avalon over the last few years. I think it's the next place for a European river cruiser in terms of if you've been on the Rhine, you've been on the Danube, you've been to France and looking for the next thing. We've seen a lot of growth, you know, sailing typically between Budapest and Bucharest, and we just added a new a little bit shorter cruise going from Croatia instead. So starting there with a night in Zagreb and then getting on the ship for 6 nights. And it makes it a little bit shorter of a cruise and gives more time for the Transylvania extension, which most of our guests want to do. So I'm really excited about that, and excited as always about adding more active and discovery cruises, which we have a new one in Holland and Belgium this year. So there's so much to be excited for in 2021.
Thank you very much.
I probably wasn't brief, but I tried.
That's all right. You tried. Thanks, Pam. Appreciate that. Walter.
Yeah, for us, with a small fleet, we can't go too far right now, but we're most excited about the river less traveled in Central Europe, which is the Mosel. We're offering a series of 10-day round-trip cruises from Amsterdam to make the flight connections very easy. The Mosel is truly the most beautiful river in Central Europe, which still accounts for about 85% of the demand for river cruising globally. So we're going to focus on that area, and very excited about having those cruises run next year. We weren't able to do them this year, unfortunately. I was going to go personally myself. Hopefully next year I can make it happen.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Walter. And thank you to you three for joining us. We really appreciate it. I know you're three very, very busy people, so thank you for joining us. But please stay with us for questions. And we should welcome back Lucia, Jamie, and John. Please come back on. Come and show us. And what we'll do is, Adele, you have some questions for us.
I do. Thanks, Andy. And yes, we've had a number of questions from this very attentive audience today. And thank you to everybody that's contacted us. And we'll try to answer as many questions as possible. But you do still have time to submit any further questions or comments that you have.
You're pushing it.
So we can dive right in here. This is one of the first questions that we received. So it probably is aimed more at our first session of experts. Are travellers able to go ashore independently? That's probably down to Lucia, John, or Jamie, who could answer that one for us.
I can see Jane is nodding. Sorry, Lucia. Let's go to Jane first, and then because Jane's you're back most recently, so tell us.
Yeah, well, absolutely, no issue about it whatsoever. I mean, we went ashore on our own every single day, and no restrictions, no worries, nothing to think about at all. So yeah, you do your own thing.
Thank you. Lucia, you were going to add, sorry, I interrupted you.
Well, Jane very kindly answered for me, as she's been on the ship actually much more recently than myself. But yes, so we are still insisting on that maximum flexibility that defines our brand, and to absolutely allow everybody to make their own choices whilst they are on board. So yes, wherever we are cruising, we are working hand in hand with the destinations for this, and making very sure that we're going, you know, and informing our customers about all the rules and regulations in each and every port. So yes.
Thanks, Lucia. And then, so for 2021, let me ask this, Ellen, I'll start with you, but presumably some of those final details won't yet be finalized for the 2021 experience because it's such a quickly changing environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we're, you know, we're planning for many things. So we're planning for having, you know, the thermal scanners when the customers come on board for ease of their temperature taking, as well as ease of our new security system. We've added in something called premium purity, which is we're actually spraying all the ship with a coating that actually makes it self-defensive against viruses and pores against all the surfaces. So that's what we do know. You know, when it comes to meals and how we're serving them, we're going to be just like the others. We're just going to be flexible, ready to go. If we can go back to the buffets, if people want them, we'll have them. If it doesn't right, we won't. Being that we're very fortunate to have more than one restaurant on board, if we have to have different dining times and move people around, we will. I think that's the best part of river cruising, is that we can all be so flexible and so quick and easy to maneuver.
Thank you very much. Adele. Are you there, Adele?
Hi, apologies. That question was from Carol. Thank you for that question, Carol. Another one that came in as well, which we have already answered. Are any of your river cruises taking UK customers? And again, Janie's testament to that. Thank you for Lindsay for sending that in. There is a question directly for Lucia here. Can you mention one of the reinvented destinations that you mentioned briefly a little bit earlier?
Absolutely, gladly. What a great question, hey? I'm glad it didn't take me unawares. I'm glad I'm working in operations also. Yes, actually, I can tell you one. Well, I think Jane is yes, again a very good example for that one. Along her cruise, I think it was on Saturday, wasn't it, Jane? One of our most kind of coveted locations that we're visiting, Frankfurt, was not allowed to visit anymore because they had a rising level of COVID cases. This is just you know, to put things into perspective. Yes, Frankfurt was not able to visit because they had 50 cases in 100,000. Yes, so that was just. But this is how Germany is reacting to this pandemic. So they are very much on the case. But we quickly diverted, and this is the advantage of river cruising. I would just like to thank my colleagues, you know, in the second panel for you know, talking about it so eloquently, because this is our very essence of it. We are in a destinations where left and right, there are continuous possibilities and opportunities and towns and villages and so many places to see. So when Jane couldn't go to Frankfurt, we quickly redesigned the itinerary and we took them to Mainz. And Mainz would have never been visited. You know, by the way, you know, Mainz is where Gutenberg, you know, printed his first ever Bible. Yes, not many people know about it. Not many people know that it has an amazing cathedral. And just opposite of Mainz, over the bridge, is Wiesbaden, one of the most beautiful Baroque cities in entire Europe. Again, a vast area of opportunities, and you know, I could talk forever, so I'm going to shut up now.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chair. Pam, but it really is actually one of the great joys of river cruising is that you get to visit places in the heart of Europe that you wouldn't ordinarily explore and discover. Presumably that leads to a lot of the work that happens around itinerary planning.
Sorry, was that directed to me? I didn't hear.
It was, Pam. Sorry, yes, it was, yes.
Sorry. Absolutely. And this has really been a focus of ours, is to move off the beaten path over the last few years. And I think many of us, so we actually have been going to Mainz and Wiesbaden for those fantastic experiences that Lucia talked about, and a lot of other places that have not been, you know, necessarily visited quite heavily by a lot of tourists. And so I think it is a fantastic opportunity. It's something that our planners work on and work with these local communities to find a win-win for them, that our ships are coming, they want to have tourism, that we work with them to bring business and to help with bring excursions and help bring to life new businesses, and we work with local operators always. So it's a great opportunity, and there are so many places that have yet to be explored. One of the questions that we always get is there over tourism? Is there a risk because of the fact that river cruising has grown so much? And obviously there's a risk. We're growing, but we're not there. There's not a concern to be had, and there are so many other places that are fantastic to visit and develop, and that's what all of these operators that are sitting here with me are doing, and we're all making sure that we're taking care and making sure that over tourism and river cruising doesn't become a problem.
Thank you very much, Pam. Adele, I think we've got time for one more question from you.
Okay, this covers everybody as well. So if it's possible to start the 2021 season for all operators in March and April, do you think this will be at full capacity, or will numbers per sailing still be limited? And that's a question from James Hill.
Thank you very much. So will capacity be limited in 2021? Where should we? Walter, would you like to take that one first?
Sure. So we have the advantage of having built ships that had social distancing in mind from the onset. Our ships carry half as many guests as ships of the same size. So for us, we don't expect any capacity limitations on our vessels. We only carry 110 guests with 68 crew, and our motor coaches as well for the tours are similarly outfitted in a way where there's great social distancing. So for us, we don't see any challenges.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Adele, for those questions. And thank you to our panel. What an illustrious panel we've had. Thank you so much for giving up your time to talk to our travel trade community in North America, UK, Ireland, and Europe. We wish you huge success for 2021. But on behalf of the CLIA team, thank you for giving up your time today, and thank you for watching. We look forward to the opportunities that 2021 holds. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Nice to see everyone.